I know some people say we're losing Fredericksburg, but I don't think we're losing it. It's just changing.
Yeah.
Welcome to Everything Real in Fredericksburg. From local government to economic development and real estate. If it's happening in Fredericksburg, Texas, we talk about it. Now your host, Leanne Bailey.
So welcome, Councilman Bobby Watson.
Thank you.
Thanks for
Glad to be here.
Yeah. Well, so tell me a little bit who you are, what brought you to Fredericksburg, how long have you been here? Just kind of give us a few years ago kind of start.
Okay. I grew up in Dallas. I had a real good friend that bought property down here, and every year he'd throw a big party over the Easter weekend. And so we'd come down to the party and have a great time, and then did some sightseeing. And every time I left, I thought, wow, this would be a great place to live if you could figure out how to make a living.
Yeah.
And the scenery is beautiful. The people here were nice. It was a lot of fun. So fast forward a few years, I changed jobs, and it was a sales job. And the week I started, the person that had this territory left the company, and the owner of the company said, would you consider moving to Austin? I said, sure. So moved to Austin and was there maybe 6 months, and I was visiting Fredericksburg and ran into a friend of mine, and he said, do you realize the center of your sales territory is Fredericksburg?
Wow. So
I met with a realtor that day and bought some property and moved here in 1999, and it's been great.
Yeah.
And my territory is basically Austin, San Antonio.
Yeah.
So it was easier to get to both of those places from here than either one of those. So, and coming from, at the time I had been living in Addison, Texas, and I was on the city council there.
Oh, wow.
And I just knew that I wanted to contribute to the community, and to do that, you had to get involved. So I just started getting involved with different organizations, the chamber, some other organizations, and it's been great. I mean, 25 years later, I love it. Still do.
Well, you and I have been friends for a while now, and I had no idea you were on the council in Addison, and nor did I know you had lived in Fredericksburg for so long. Mm-hmm. I just didn't ask. That's kind of one of the things that, I've told my husband is that I don't think we get to sit down like this enough. I guess when we all do sit down, there's so many things to talk about, but it's so cool that, a past guest had talked about being here since the 80s, and it seems like the 80s were just yesterday, but they weren't, unfortunately, and neither were the 90s. And so when you really think about it, it's like, wow, I've been here a while.
Yes.
Like you've seen a lot of change, I'm sure.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And, people talk about how Fredericksburg is not the Fredericksburg of old, but it really is. It's just changed some. The people are the same. There's a whole new younger generation actually moving back and moving here, which is really exciting. And to look around and see all the kids and the young families, that tells me that we're doing something right. And the town is, even though it's an old town, we've got this vibrancy that's fun to watch, fun to be a part of.
Yeah. I told somebody earlier, my daughter just went, she's in her second semester at college and hadn't been gone 2 months probably, and came home or called home and said, I didn't realize the quality of life in Fredericksburg. When they're in school, they're so ready to fly and get off on their own, and
sure.
they get out in the big city, and people aren't as friendly, and the things aren't as clean and well kept, and it's such a community here. People really make you feel welcome, even if you're not from here, if you're newly to town and things like that. So yeah, I think that she had missed that, and of course most high school students would.
Sure.
But so let's talk a little bit about city council for a minute, if you would.
Absolutely.
And tell me, how did you get started? Well, obviously you had a little history in city council, but why here, and how did you get started, and how long have you been doing it?
Like I said, when I moved here, I started to get involved in different organizations and got involved with the chamber, was on the board there and chairman of the board for a year, and then got real involved in leadership Gillespie County, which is a great program, and went through the program, then kind of managed the program for 4 years. And so I got to meet a lot of people, and what was not most fun, but really fun about it was people that grew up here and that would go through the program and they'd go, I didn't know we had that. I didn't know we offered that. And so even if you live here, there's so much going on that you're unaware of. And so the only way to find out is to get involved.
Yeah.
And then one day I decided, well, I was on council in Addison and I really enjoyed that. I liked being in the know and being able to contribute and make decisions that were good for the community. I thought I'd throw my hat in the ring and see if that'd work out here. And
so what year was that?
Well, I'm in my 8th year. So I served 4 years, then had a year off, and then I'm in my 4th year of the second.
So it's been a minute.
It has.
I think you're on the council when we first. Well, you would have been when we first moved here, and I'm telling you, it's a hard job being on the council. I'm sure it's also rewarding, or you wouldn't do it. But it's complicated. It takes a lot of knowledge and research, and you got to do your homework. I would assume you get this huge packet of information before every meeting.
Right.
How do you prepare for that?
Well, the longer you're on council, the more you understand about how the city works. So the packets are big, but it's just a lot of information to make sure that we have the information we need to make a good decision, what's best for the community. I guess the information we have, you try to talk to people that are familiar with what project is going on, try to get their background, get other point of views, and try to, our purpose is we're elected by the people that live here to make decisions on their behalf. And hopefully you make decisions that are good for the whole community, not just one group here or one group there.
Yeah.
So
y'all don't have districts. Y'all represent the whole city. So that's you really are, all your constituents, it's a hard word to say for me, is a large group, which probably could be a good thing and a bad thing. I know you're really good about being out in the public and being very involved. I think that helps. You don't have to go through the big packet a lot when you're attending meetings and talking to people on the ground. I know there's been a lot of coffee with the city manager and different town hall meetings, and I know you've been very involved with those. And I think that's great. It's so good for the community to see you out and be able to talk to you face to face.
Well, attending the things like the coffee with the city manager and the town halls that have just recently started, you hear what their concerns are, what they like, what they dislike on their turf, and not just in council chambers, which can be intimidating, even for me. Yeah. And so you're on the town halls. We're meeting in people's homes, or we just met at a gated community, and they have a clubhouse. So we met there, and there were 50 residents. And so you're talking on their turf and hearing what they have to say.
Yeah, I like that. I think that's a good point, getting out of council chambers and a little more face-to-face, which is really my goal here with this show, is to get a little more face-to-face and get a little bit more personable with our relationships and hear kind of firsthand versus, there's Councilman Watson sitting there on the dais and here's what I think he thinks. And so Well, what's some of the stuff going on in the city right now that you might think it might be important for our viewers to know?
Well, I think we're just finishing up the survey for the new comprehensive plan. The last time we updated the comprehensive plan that we're working on right now was originally done in 2006. And we did an update in 2015, but it really didn't address the whole comprehensive plan. So it's good for a city to take a hard look at that every 5 to 10 years, because that's your roadmap.
Yeah.
And so we're entering that process now. We're closing the survey, I believe it's today, and we've had a really good turnout. We have over 1,000 surveys filled out.
That's
so
great.
That's really good. So we'll take that and then evaluate from that survey what people are really wanting us to address. Mm-hmm. And through that, we take a look at all our ordinances. We take a look at our plans for the future, what direction we're going to go. And I'm excited about it because it's something that we've really needed for a long time. And it takes about 18 months to put together, and it'll take a lot of hard work from council people, from city staff, from people, public, and it's good. Yeah. I think it also helps bring the community together.
That's a good point. Seems like if you don't know how to get involved, that's a great way to, get your thoughts out there and tell the council and staff what you'd like to hear without, especially if you're too embarrassed to get up at a meeting or attend a town hall or something like that. Now, you're not just on council. I don't know if your role as council puts you on other boards, but you're not just on council. What else are you involved in?
I'm the city liaison to the Economic Development Commission. So that commission gets information on all kinds of things, what new developments, people interested in moving to town, sales tax, all the activities that happen in town, which is really fun to be a part of, because you kind of get to see what's going on outside of council, and also who's interested in coming to town, either developments, apartment builders, shops, restaurants. So it's a good insight into what is coming as well as what's going on. I'm also on the Airport Advisory Board as a city liaison. So the airport is probably one of the best assets the city has. And I don't think a lot of people realize that, but it's a huge economic generator for our community. It's an amazing little airport, and it's really not that little. Right now, we've got about a $5 million construction project starting to build some new hangars, because the demand for hangars at the airport is overwhelming.
Yeah, as a pilot, I get calls all the time. Hey, can you help me find a hangar? And I say, okay, let me see what I can do. What I'd really like to say is, I'm sorry, I know there's a wait list and it's going to be complicated. Now, most of Texas are, I don't know outside of Texas, but a lot of Texas cities are struggling with that. It takes a lot of square footage to put airplanes in a hangar. But I like that they're recognizing the need, and $5 million is not a small amount of money.
No, not at all.
It's great.
In fact, the wait list right now, I think, for T hangars is 36.
Yeah.
And it's been that way for several years.
Well, that causes a little bit of problem when you're a pilot and you've got an airplane and you spend a lot of money on that airplane, and you want, people want to have their car in a garage. People want to have their airplane in a hangar. So it's a little nerve-wracking if you've got an airplane and you don't have a place to put it. So,
exactly.
What I like about the airplane, and maybe you can speak to this a little bit, is we've got the ability to bring in some larger jets with the ability, the longer runway, and then the wide. It's perfectly paved. It's a great runway. But then we also have a huge general aviation community, and I love that it's an uncontrolled airspace where people can kind of get down on the apron of the airport and the runways and see all kinds of aircraft. You go out there on a Saturday morning and get a seat at the cafe there and have some coffee and watch everything come in.
Exactly.
That's great.
And I think the jet traffic is growing, where the newer jets are much more efficient, and they don't need the ultra long runways.
Yeah.
So
those brakes, that braking system that they don't have to.
Exactly. So larger jets are able to come in here now, and with that, you have visitors from all over the world coming.
So that's who you would say is the majority, or do you think they're tourism? It's tourism based or business owners, both?
I think it's both. We've got a community outside of town, Boot Ranch, and a lot of the people that live there have their own aircraft, and so I think that development has grown because of our airport.
Absolutely.
So and plus we have a lot of visitors from Dallas and Houston that will fly in for the day or fly in for the weekend and shop and eat and have a good time.
Yeah. It's nice that we're just close enough to Austin and San Antonio that you can fly out on major airlines there, but folks that have the ability to have their own airplane to be able to fly in right there is huge.
Yes, so, absolutely.
That's cool. Well, what else do we need to know about what's going on in some of these various organizations that you're in?
Well, the one organization I've been in for a number of years that we've kind of re-imaged ourselves, and it's called Flavory, Texas. And we're working with Texas Tech right now to develop they have a viticulture and enology program here in Fredericksburg, but we want to expand on that and teach winemaking and have the facility. It'd be a teaching winery, basically. And we also want to be able to have a teaching kitchen so that to further farm to market, but the whole culinary experience, whether it's wine, beer, distilleries, food, we just want to be able to show that experience off, not only for the Texas Hill Country, but for Texas.
Yeah. Isn't it incredible that we're such a small town, but we have this culinary greatness here? I don't know what else to call it besides culinary greatness, but we're afforded so many amazing restaurants because of the tourism traffic. But also I think because we have that unique farming, ranching community where you can grow anything from peaches to beef and then bring that to the table. And then to start with students in high school and start getting them into that culinary pathway that, go from, working in the restaurant to managing it to maybe even owning your own restaurant at some point.
Right.
And then to have the campus here through Texas Tech to have the infrastructure for degrees. I just think it's incredible. It's such a perfect storm, if you will.
Well, we signed a lease with the city out at the Texas Hill Country University Center, or the Hill Country University Center, and so we're working, getting it in position to start fundraising because we'd like to build a building to have the winery and the kitchen and meeting spaces, and it's a pretty exciting venture. It's going to take some money and it's going to take some time, but we're very excited about it. And we're working with the high school currently, and that's one of the better programs that the high school offers kids now.
Yeah.
So, and that's fun to watch, see these kids get a taste for food and learning how to cook food, prepare food, and really start them off in the right direction.
Yeah, bringing a little bit of diversity into the curriculum at the high school. I'm on the board for the University Center, and I think it's such a great asset, and it's underutilized for sure.
Absolutely.
And when you see kitchens with winery, with the vineyards outside, and to be able to pair those up, it's incredible. I don't know where else they're doing it in the world. But I think it's really great that we're able to do this in this little community right here, and then be so close to major cities where, we can kind of capitalize off some of that from a city aspect. But this little town has so many, like, not secrets, but things that people just probably didn't ever imagine that were here. Like you were saying about leadership, Gillespie County, you're like, whoa, I had no idea.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Fredericksburg, and I tell people, our population's right around 12,000, but we're really a town of 30.
Yeah.
When you figure in tourists on the weekends, sometimes it's more than that. But we have to have the facilities, the infrastructure, the restaurants, all these things to support 30,000 people.
Yeah.
And I know some people say we're losing Fredericksburg, but I don't think we're losing it. It's just changing.
Yeah.
And
it's evolving.
And we need to manage that growth.
Yeah.
And I think that's one of the big things that the city council has to really pay attention to, is managing the growth, not just we'll make decisions that some people don't like.
Yeah.
And
well, no one ever said running for city council or being on city council was a popularity contest, because that's the Miss Texas pageant. But one of the things that came to mind was that when we talk about, Fredericksburg's not the same, I think people's experiences aren't the same as they used to be. People maybe enjoyed shopping more. Now people really enjoy experiences, and food and wine is an experience, and people are really getting into that more, I think, more so than ever. I think my generation eats out way more than say my parents' generation.
Sure.
And we don't even think twice about it. We eat out, and my parents probably ate out once a month.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think as you start to see just experiences change, then you start finding things that give people those experiences. And eating out and dining out is one of them. And culinary flavors and wines that go. There's so many things that you can do with food and wine that I'd never thought about before. It's not just sitting down with a plate of food and a glass, to drink.
Absolutely.
So.
Yeah, my wife moved here 26 years ago, and she says that there was only one restaurant in town that stayed open till 9 o'clock on the weekends.
Yeah.
So
isn't that crazy?
We've changed a lot from that standpoint.
Yeah, I love it.
And quite honestly, I think we need more restaurants, because as most people know that live here, a lot of restaurants don't take reservations anymore, and you've got to get there really early to get a table. So, well,
and what's unique about Fredericksburg, most of our buildings are so small, so it's hard to just fit that many people in these smaller buildings. Last night we ate out, and it was a Thursday night. It's not even a weekend yet, and it was packed.
Oh, yeah.
People love to eat out, so I think that's great. I love that you said it's going to take a while. I think it's okay, because you're growing towards something that's going to be there. You have to kind of keep your eye on the prize. And I think this organization that you have, Flavory Texas, is willing to, stay to the end.
Exactly.
Cool.
We've got a good board and good people. So I agree.
Good. But there's so many things that are coming out that we were talking about through this podcast that I also want our listeners to be able to help if they can, or support it and volunteer. So hopefully at the end, we'll put some contact information for Flavory Texas and the city of Fredericksburg too. And if there's people that hear this and want to get involved and contribute, maybe they'll do so.
That'd be great.
Yeah. What else do you have on your notes there, sir?
Well, speaking of city council, one of the big things we've got coming up, May 6th, is an election. We've got 2 council seats open. One is mine. So I'll be running for re-election on May the 6th. And the election season, I guess, is kicking off pretty early. Yeah. So, you'll be seeing me around town asking for votes. And
perfect.
Putting up.
It's always fun.
And everybody will have yard signs, so you'll start seeing a bunch of signs around town.
And we say, hey, we know that guy.
But the election process is fun. It's a lot of hard work, but I enjoy it. it comes around every 2 years. So
this is great. In case somebody didn't know, so you filed. I guess that date has passed.
The deadline to file is today.
Today, okay. I knew it was really close. And so then May
6th.
And there'll be early voting for council, is that not?
No, there will be early voting. I should know the date.
Details,
I don't have that. But
so as it gets closer, maybe we can bring you back and talk about the election, because I think that's important for people to know. We don't always know where to go or what to do.
Sure.
I've mentioned before sometimes without a news channel, or, we have the local paper, which is great, but sometimes we don't always know what to do or where to go. So I'm going to have you back and talk about that a little bit more.
That'd be great. Love to.
So there's 2 seats. Those are the only 2 positions that'll be open.
That's correct. Yes.
And how many people do you think are running?
Right. Earlier this afternoon, there's 5.
Yeah. So that's about average for what we usually have for runoff, or is that more than usual?
No, that's about.
Not runoff,
I think when I ran 2 years ago, there was 6 running. So, I did run one time, and I didn't have any opponents, so we didn't have to have an election. That was nice. But
I would like that.
But people want to get involved, and they have reasons for getting involved, and I understand that. And the one thing you can't do is, if you're in politics, you can't take it personally.
Yeah.
It's hard not to.
Yeah.
But when the voters speak, they speak their mind, and sometimes you win, sometimes you don't.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Well, it makes the victory even sweeter then.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
What else you got?
I think what I really love about Fredericksburg, there are several things, but the first are the people. Mm-hmm. We have a very giving community. We have so many volunteer organizations and nonprofits that when I was involved in leadership in Gillespie County, I was kidding around thinking we need to have a class on how to say no.
Yeah.
Because if you start volunteering, word spreads, and then everybody asks you if you want to be on this committee or this organization. And it's real easy to find yourself on way too many boards, and you lose track of time. But the people here are just truly amazing. They give of their time, they give of their money, and they work towards making Fredericksburg a better place. And that's amazing. Of course, the location here in the Hill Country. One thing that's growing because of our location is the wine industry. I think we have somewhere in the neighborhood of 60 to 70 wineries within a 30-minute drive of Fredericksburg. And quite honestly, I believe that the wine industry here is in its infancy, and we're going to see it grow more and more. And as it matures, we'll start seeing people move in from California or different parts of the country, and quite frankly, some international.
Yeah.
So,
well, I think we'll see too. There's a lot of wine growing in the northern parts of Texas and the Lubbock area, and I'd like to see some of that. Those folks come down here and start growing some grapes too, because they're learning how to do it up there. It's perfect conditions up there. It's a little cold for me up there, having lived up there, a little windy. And so I think we might see some of them start coming down here and putting in more wineries too. So
the conditions
vineyards, I should say.
Yeah, the conditions aren't quite as good as they are up near the Lubbock area, but there is quite a bit of grape growing here.
Yeah.
And
I just think Texas is really showing their stuff lately with vineyards and wineries.
And when the wine industry was first starting, they were trying to figure out what grapes grow best here.
Yeah.
And they were taking the typical California grapes and finding that, no, it's probably more the Spanish grapes or the Italian grapes, and so I think that's the direction that Texas has been moving.
Yeah. Sometimes I don't want to get into too much tourism, but we can't hide from it. Tourism is what makes our community what it is. Can you talk a little bit about the tax dollars that we get from, a tourist comes, they stay, they spend money, they eat out. What does that mean for us? What would we have if we didn't have the tourism traffic? Or what would we not have?
It's tourism. I believe tourism is our industry. We're a tourist town. We have been for a long time. I know there are people that wish we could slow it down, but and taxes are a big issue every year. But one of the things that tourism does, it keeps our tax rates low. Fortunately or unfortunately, tourists come here, they fall in love with the city, and they start buying houses, and especially people that move in from outside of Texas, and our real estate rates or prices are probably less than a lot of places in the country. And so we have that real estate market doing quite well, and it pushes the prices of houses up, which also affects property taxes. So if we didn't have the tourism, I think the property taxes would be a lot higher. Yeah. And it allows the city to have infrastructure and offer programs like leaf pickup and brush pickup at no charge to the citizens that live here. And I'm very proud of what we have infrastructure-wise. And I mean, we've got the infrastructure of a 40, 50,000 resident town population. And it's in very good shape. We have great roads, and I think a lot of that's attributed to the tax dollars that we get off of tourism.
That's nice. They help with that money helps with so many things that I don't think we could otherwise afford if we were just a small town with normal taxes. We just couldn't do it. There's just no way that we could manage that income. Plus,
a lot of the taxes or the sales tax that we get off of this go towards nonprofit groups.
Yeah, it's great. Well, Councilman Watson, is there anything else that you would like to just leave our viewer with? Something that's like near and dear to your heart, something you think is just why you run for council, why you live here, why your family's here. Is there any just final thought that you have?
Well, to me, Fredericksburg is a very special place. And my desire to be on council is to give back and to contribute to the community. I think I've found a place where I could do that. And I don't really have one agenda item that I really promote. What I try to do, I love Fredericksburg, and I want to make decisions on what is best for Fredericksburg, what is best for the people that live here, for the community as a whole. And sure, there'll be decisions that make some groups upset, but that's part of it. But to me, Fredericksburg is a very, very special place, and we need to take care of it. Yeah. And that's why I get involved, and why I'm like being on city council. Yeah.
Well, I can see the love that you have for a community, and I thank you for serving, because I know it's a selfless act, and I appreciate it. And I know the decisions you make, you think long and hard about, and I can see that. I know you personally and as a councilman, and I do appreciate that you serve and donate your time to the other organizations, the nonprofits here. And I think we're blessed to have you and your family here in town. So thank you for taking the time to meet with me. I'm flattered, and would love to have you back and talk more about what's going on as we progress through the year. And I know you'll be back on city council and wish you luck, even though you may not need it. But just hope to have you back.
Great. Thank you very much. I really appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Thanks for listening to Everything Real in Fredericksburg. Special thanks to Dixie Cope at Dankworth Dry Goods for providing our location. Get more information about the Fredericksburg area and contact Leanne at labaileyrealestate.com.